I opened a credit card to cover mom's medical bills. A few days later, saw a video of my brother's kids landing in a helicopter at their $14,000 birthday party. When I asked who paid, he grinned. Thanks to your card. I chuckled. My card has $200. Did you check the name? That's when my mom pulled out bank envelope with my card. My name is Caleb. I'm 31, the older son, the one who fixes things and doesn't make a mess. I own a small self-serve car wash with 4 bays and a vacuum station off Route 9. I open before sunrise, count quarters like their prayers, and know the regulars by the sound of their engines. People think owning a car wash means easy money. It's not. It's hoses that freeze at 5 a.m., pumps that hiss like snakes, and a foam cannon that likes to die on Saturdays. I grew up in a house where my job was to be helpful and invisible at the same time. Mom says I was born serious. Dad says nothing unless it's about sports. My younger brother, Mason, is the golden one, loud, shiny, and somehow always stepping onto a rug right before someone pulls it out from under him, and then everyone rushes to catch him like he's a falling chandelier. When we were kids, Mason broke the microwave by putting a fork in it, and Mom laughed. He's curious. I melted a plastic cup by accident, and she sighed. Caleb, you know better. It's fine. I learned young how to take a joke and how to be one. Lately, Mom hasn't been laughing. She's been in and out of appointments with a voice that grew hoarse and thin, like someone turned down her volume. The waiting rooms smelled like lemon cleaner and fear. I drove her to scans before sunrise because that's when my bays are empty. I bring a thermos of coffee and a pack of crackers. She called me steady. I held on to that word like it was a real thing. The day before this started, I unclogged Bay 3 while wine burned my face. My phone kept buzzing in the tool pocket of my hoodie. Remember to swing by, Mom texted. Soup day. I wiped grease on a rag and felt calmer just reading that. Soup day meant normal. I showed up with a grocery bag of rolls. The kitchen smelled like chicken broth. Mason was already there, leaning against the counter in a designer hoodie, talking into his phone about a brand collab. I set the rolls down. He waved without looking. Mom hugged me like she was saving her breath. You look tired, she said. You working too hard? Slow season, I said. Pipes hate me. She hissed at that. Pipes don't hate you. They just need you. That's how she talks. Like the objects in our life are moody toddlers. We ate in the living room. They had the TV on low. Mason kept laughing at his phone. Mom asked me about the car wash. I told her about a guy who used 8 minutes of high-pressure rinse to blast mud off his boots. She smiled weakly. People use what they think they have for what they wish they had, she said. I wasn't sure what that meant, but I nodded like I did. After dinner, Dad mentioned the hospital bill like he was commenting on rain. We'll figure it out, he said, eyes on the game. Like, we meant you, Caleb. I stacked bowls in the sink and felt the old gravity pull. Do more, say less. Then we heard it. A chopper thudding the air like a giant heartbeat. Mason darted to the window, grin already loaded. That's tomorrow's test flight, he said. Wait till you see the video. Test flight for what? I asked. He winked. You'll see. Mom laughed once, then coughed. Your brother has big ideas, she said. He always did. I took her tea into the kitchen. As I rinsed the cups, I heard her voice, low and soft, float over the clink of porcelain. Caleb, you're my practical one, she said. You always know how to make hard things manageable. Behind her words was the first small trigger, a familiar pressure I pretended not to feel. That night, I drove home with my wipers squeaking across a dry windshield, hands tied on the wheel, like you do when you know a curve is coming and you can't see the sign yet. I slept badly, the kind where your brain keeps checking the door. I should explain the roles. Mom, warm but tired, a maker of lists with stars in the margins. Dad, weathered, proud in a quiet way that turns sharp when money comes up. Mason, the family's favorite movie, always playing. Me, the person who cleans the theater after. When Dad got laid off from the parts warehouse 3 years ago, I picked up extra night runs at the wash. I did Craigslist installs, softeners, coin hoppers, bill validators. I learned you can talk anyone into paying cash if you bring the right socket set, and say my guy a lot. Money wasn't easy, but it moved if I did. Every month, I slipped Mom $400 for groceries. She pretended not to notice. You always bring something, she'd say, staring at the envelopes like they were shy animals. Mason brought excitement. New shoes. A drone. Last summer, he started a YouTube channel where he filmed kid experiences and told us it was a brand. It's about creating moments, he said. You can't measure that in quarters, Caleb. He said quarters like a joke. The car wash runs on quarters. The petty part of me noted that. The first medical bill hit the mailbox like a brick. I opened it at Mom's table while she folded dish towels in silent rows. $6,412.17. The .17 bothered me most. It made the number feel like it could argue with you. Mom kept smoothing the same towel flat, over and over. "We'll call," she said softly. "They do payment plans. They also do interest," I said. She looked small on that chair. "Caleb, I hate this." "I know," I said. "Let me try something." I drove to the bank. The manager, a man with a perfectly parted side part and a sign on his desk that said, "We're in this together," smiled like he'd practiced. I opened a new card with a zero-interest promo. It was stupid, I know, but it was a bridge. I told myself bridges are good. You walk across, you don't live on them. I went back to the wash and propped the office door with a bucket while the dryer cycled. I called the hospital. I gave them the card number. $3,000 down. "We'll send a receipt," the woman said like she was wrapping a present. I put the phone down and stared at the blue light of the coin counter flickering on the wall. This would work if I kept moving. I always kept moving. Over the next week, I drove Mom to appointments. I stocked the vending machine with little tissues and hand sanitizer because the nurses kept running out. I forgot to eat dinner twice. Mason posted a reel of himself testing cotton candy machines for the kids' event of the year. He captioned it, "Making Childhood Magical." Comments: "Uncle of the Year." Legend: "Where do you get your ideas?" Mom texted, "Don't be hard on him." I wasn't, I told myself. I was hard on me. Things I paid for over the years. Mason's rent once, just this month, bro. Dad's truck battery, 3 prom tux deposits for cousins, and the security deposit when the basement flooded because someone decided a space heater should be friends with a cheap extension cord. When people in my family said, "we," they meant Caleb. There were small humiliations, like the time Aunt Rena asked, "Do you ever wish you'd finished college?" at Thanksgiving while Mason explained crypto to an uncle who thought it was a candy bar. Or the time Dad introduced me to a neighbor as our handyman and introduced Mason as our entrepreneur. I let it all slide. Friction makes heat, and we didn't need more heat. The helicopter thing started as a video in a group chat. It buzzed my phone while I was cashing out the change machine. A clip: 2 kids, my niece and nephew, running across a field cheering as a helicopter descended, confetti cannons going off on the sidelines. The caption: $14,000 birthday grand entrance. There was a hashtag I wish I hadn't read, hashtag family funded. I didn't respond. I put my phone face down on the desk, then picked it up and watched again because the brain is cruel. I heard my sister-in-law squeal. I heard Mason shout, "We do it big." I heard my mother's laugh, thin, brave, and my father's voice in the background, proud. 5 minutes later, I was at Mom's with a bag of groceries she didn't ask for. She sat at the kitchen table with a stack of envelopes and her reading glasses low on her nose. "You saw?" she asked, like it was a weather report. "Yeah," I said. "Cool idea." She dabbed her napkin at nothing. "They're kids," she said. "It's a memory." "I get it," I said. "Memories are expensive." She looked at the envelopes. "Caleb, we should talk about." "Don't," I said. "I'm handling it." I opened a card. 0 interest for 12 months. Her face changed. "You opened for me?" "For the bills," I said quickly. "To buy time." She nodded, small, grateful, guilty. "You always think ahead." That would have been the end of it if life were fair. But the next day, while I was topping off the foam concentrate, Mason slid into the bay in his SUV. Music too loud, kids sticky with frosting in the back. He hopped out. "Bro, mind if I run this through quick? Gotta keep the brand clean." "Yeah," I said, gesturing. "Card or quarters?" He smirked. "Card. Always." He pulled a card from his wallet and flicked it like a magic trick. "Your bank card is fancy," he said, grin wide. "That matte black?" "Fire." I frowned. "My business card is a paper rectangle with a phone number." "Nah," he said. "Your credit card." He wiggled the blue plastic. "My bank's logo. My name." My chest went hot and then cold. "That's not a business card," I said, voice flat. "That's my card." "Exactly," he said, like this proved something clever. "Where did you get that?" I asked. From the doorway, Mom's voice. I took it, Caleb. She had her purse on her shoulder and her coat crooked on one arm. Her face was tired, not sorry. "It was for the kids. Mason promised to pay you back," he said. He cut in, still smiling. "Thanks to your card, we got the chopper, man. You're a legend." Something in my face must have changed because he added quickly, "Palms up, we'll settle up. Chill. Don't make it weird." "My card has 200 on it," I said lightly. Did you check the name? Or the limit? Mason blinked like the sun was in his eyes. Mom fished in her purse. No, you had another one, a business one, right? She pulled out the envelope the bank had sent, unopened, the way people carry good luck charms they don't understand. That was the moment, right there, where the ground tilted. Small, silent tilts never look dramatic. They just line up other things so they can fall. I took the envelope from her hand. I felt the paper cut before I saw it, thin and mean across my thumb. Caleb, Mom said softly. I didn't answer. I put the card back in my wallet. I told myself to breathe. Then I did what I always do. I kept moving. But inside, a part of me sat down. 1 week later, we were at a rented hall for the kids' combined birthday. Balloons like planets. A candy wall with little scoops. A cake that looked like a spaceship, price tag probably a house payment. I carried 2 cases of water in because someone said, Caleb, could you? And my hands automatically agreed. Mason was everywhere. MC, photographer, ringmaster. My parents floated behind him, smiling like stage lights. I found Mom by the gift table, sitting when she thought no one was looking. I brought her a chair with a cushion. Save me a dance, I said. She laughed, careful. Halfway through, the lights dimmed. The DJ shouted, make some noise. A video played on a giant screen. Helicopter blades slicing sky, kids squealing, Mason posing with the pilot. Text overlaid. All love to the one who made this possible. The crowd shouted, Caleb, because Mason did, into the microphone, and his finger pointed at me like a blessing and a bullet. A spotlight hit my face. I smiled because that's what you do when a camera is nearby. Then I walked to the side of the room, toward the doors where the air wasn't so sweet. Mom followed slow. He's excited, she said softly. How much? I asked. Not loud, not angry, just real. How much did you charge? She looked down. Just a deposit. Mason said the sponsor would reimburse. Mason, I said, turning. He slid over immediately like he'd been listening for his name his whole life. Hey, hero, he said. He tried to hug me. I stepped back. How much? He rolled his eyes. We talked about this. It's fine. How much? He sighed big. Okay, 1,400. I asked, knowing. 1,000, he said, like it was a joke we'd tell later. The music kept going. People kept cheering around us like we were in a commercial. I could smell sugar and fuel and the weird clean scent of rented linens. No, I said. He blinked. No what? No, I repeated. No more. No more charges. No more will settle up. No more pretending any of this is normal. He laughed, shocked. Bro, relax. Dad's voice cut in from behind him, already annoyed. Caleb, don't make a scene. I turned slowly. You want to talk about scenes? A helicopter at a kid's party is a scene. It's a memory, Dad said, jaw tight. Family takes care of family. Family asked, I said. Family took. Mom put a hand on my arm. Caleb, we were going to. I shook my head. Stop. I opened that card for your medical bills. Not this. Mason's smile disappeared like someone hit a switch. So you're going to put a price on your niece and nephew's childhood? That's dark, man. I looked at him for a long second. Then I said, quiet. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. He laughed again, high and disbelieving. Closure? Over a party. Over years, I said. Over being the wallet with legs. Dad stepped closer. Don't disrespect your mother in public. I'm trying to protect her, I said. From interest rates and from you. A cousin appeared, sensing drama. Phones tilted. I could feel the moment calcifying into a story other people would tell wrong. I breathed. I kept my voice level. Here are my boundaries. The card is now locked. I canceled the auto pays. I will cover the hospital balance that I authorized and nothing else. If you spend on that card again, I will file fraud, because it is. Mason, if you want to run an event, run it. If you want to run a bill, run it through your own name. Mason's mouth fell open. You wouldn't. I already did, I said. Locked it 15 minutes ago in the parking lot. I held up my phone. The app screen glowed. It felt like holding a shield. He tried a different angle. You're ruining the kids' day. I looked past him at the kids chasing bubbles. No, I'm not, I said. They don't know who paid for anything. They just know if the adults around them are safe. Mom's eyes were glassy. Caleb, she whispered. Please. I turned to her and softened. I'll drive you Monday. We'll ask for an itemized bill. We'll negotiate. That's my yes. Everything else is no. Silence stretched. People went back to the candy wall. The DJ, sensing dead air, turned the music up. Mason blinked a few times like he was trying to reboot. Then he forced a laugh and clapped me on the shoulder too hard. All love, he shouted to the room. He's kidding. He stared at me. I didn't blink. We stood there like two magnets turned the wrong way, pushing apart. By night, the missed calls stacked like dominoes. 10 from Dad, 12 from Mason, 4 from Aunt Rena. My screen looked like it was bleeding red circles. I didn't answer. I sat at my kitchen table with the card app open, finger hovering. I hit dispute on the helicopter charge. The app asked, was this authorized? I typed, no. It felt like writing my name for the first time. At 2:13 a.m., a text from Mason. You're seriously doing this? Over $14,000. Sponsors are late paying. You know how it is. At 2:15, you know I'd do anything for your kids if you had any. At 2:21, Mom is crying. At 2:22, you happy? I put the phone face down and listened to the refrigerator hum. In the quiet, something loosened in my chest. Not relief. Space. Morning at the wash. The bays steamed in the cold like small boilers. I unscrewed a nozzle and tried not to replay the party in my head. A regular named Mrs. Ortiz rolled in with her dusty SUV. She saw my face and said, trouble? I said, family. And she nodded like that was a full weather report. At noon, Mom called. I answered. Her voice sounded like paper. Your father is furious, she said. Mason is loud. I can imagine, I said. How are you? She paused. Tired, she said. Then, are you sure about this? Yes, I said, and my voice surprised me with how even it was. I'll cover the medical, not the parties. I'm done being the emergency fund for other people's emergencies. Silence. Then, you've always been so generous, Caleb. Generous isn't the same as available, I said. That night, Dad left a voicemail that started calm and ended mean. We don't raise quitters, he said. If you're going to be petty over a number, don't come Sunday. I replayed that last sentence once, then deleted it. The app pinged. Your dispute is being reviewed. The next week became a test. Mason posted a long story about haters who don't understand investing in memories. He never said my name. He didn't need to. A cousin DM'd me. You good? I replied, yup. It felt like standing still while a river tried to drag me. Monday, I drove Mom to billing. We sat under a fluorescent light while a woman with a cardigan explained codes. If we remove the duplicate lab fees, she said, typing, it lowers by $1,180. Mom's mouth fell open. I asked for a payment plan at 0%. The woman blinked like she hadn't been asked that in a month and a half. We don't do zero, she said. But we can do low. We did math with a pen. It felt like winning a small battle in a large, boring war. In the parking garage, Mom leaned against the car door. When did you learn how to do that? She asked. Counting quarters, I said. She smiled for real, the first time in weeks. Tuesday, Dad showed up at the wash. He doesn't come often. He stood by the vending machine like a customer lost in translation. We should talk, he said. I wiped my hands on a rag. We are. He looked at the wet floor, then back at me. Your mother's tired. I know, I said. You humiliated your brother, he said. He used my card without asking. I said. That's humiliation. He squinted. He told me you said he could. He didn't ask. I kept my voice flat. If you co-sign his story, that's your choice. My boundary stands. He stared at me like I'd grown 6 inches. Who do you think you are? The person who stopped, I said. I'm still your son. I'm not your bank. He nodded slowly, like he'd found the edges of something ugly. You're cold, Caleb. I'm calm, I said. He left without buying a wash. The bank called Thursday. A woman named Jasmine verified my dispute and then asked simple questions. Did you hand your card to anyone? No. Did you authorize a helicopter service? I exhaled into the phone. No, she said. We're freezing the merchant transaction pending investigation. I thanked her like she'd rescued me from a ditch. Mason texted an hour later. Bro, really? I didn't respond. Friday night, Mom called from her bedroom. I could hear the TV in the living room. Loud. My dad's way of saying he was still in the house. I found an old envelope, she said. From you. Full of quarters. She laughed a small laugh. Do you remember? You said it was for soup day. I remember. I should have said no more often, she said, voice shaking. To him. To your father. I made you the fix. I let myself be it, I said. We meet in the middle. After we hung up, I cleaned my apartment the way you do when you need to touch everything you own and tell it you're still here. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and slept. Deeply, like someone cut a rope. The next week, my screen told a story in numbers. 37 missed calls on Sunday, my family's dinner day. 19 unread texts Monday, ranging from call me to you're stressing mom out. 0 responses from me. I wasn't playing a game. I was building a habit. Habits look like this. Breakfast at the diner at 6:15, a walk behind the strip mall at 7, opening the bays at 7:30, paperwork at 9, a call to billing at 11 to double-check an adjustment, lunch in the truck at 1, invoices at 3, the gym at 6, lights out at 10. I added one more. At 8 p.m., I turned my phone face down and left it that way. You'd be amazed how loud silence can be when you let it. 2 weeks later, Mason showed up at the wash with no cameras and no swagger. He stood by the change machine and looked, for once, like a person without a script. "You got the charge reversed," he said. "I did," I said. He nodded. "They sent me a letter about possible fraud." "They sent me a letter about possible fraud?" I said. "We agree." He made a face. "You really going to make me pay for all of it?" "No," I said, and his eyebrows jumped. "The hospital reduced Mom's bill. I'll cover that plan. The rest is your problem. Get a sponsor. Sell a sneaker. Cut a cake smaller." He rubbed his jaw like it was sore. "You used to help." "I used to drown," I said. "Now I don't." He stared at the wet concrete. "Mom's mad at me." "Mom's scared," I said. "There's a difference." He looked up, eyes shiny. "You always talk like that. Like you know the right words." "I know what I'll do and what I won't." He sniffed and laughed once. "You're really not coming Sunday?" "Not until people talk to me like I'm a person, not a wallet." He nodded slowly, then shrugged. "You do you, man." He left. I watched his taillights until they disappeared. That night, Mom texted just 3 words. "Miss you, steady." I typed and erased 4 replies. Finally, I wrote, "Monday at 9. I'll pick you up." She sent a heart. It felt like a non-expensive memory that still counted. Closure isn't fireworks. It's a pencil line you draw and then redraw until your hand learns the shape. It's the first time you don't answer a guilt call and the world doesn't end. It's a bill on a payment plan that actually shrinks. It's a Saturday where the bays stay busy and no one needs your last $20 because you stopped giving it like a reflex. Mom and I met with billing twice more. We paid $300, then $300 again. I watched numbers turn into less. She watched me talk to people like the world wasn't on fire. In the car, she said, "You're good at this." I said, "So are you. You raised brothers." She smiled and looked out the window at the ordinary sky. Dad sent one more voicemail. "Your mother says you're helping at the hospital. That's good." Then, after a pause, softer, "That's good." He still doesn't like the word boundary. He'll get used to it, or he won't. That's not my job. Mason pivoted to smaller parties. A backyard circus. A puppet show. He posted a video about sustainable wonder, which made me laugh in a non-mean way. He hasn't apologized the way TV tells you people do, with a speech and a hug. He apologized by not using my name as a password anymore. I'll take it. I changed small things. I moved the family group chat to muted. I set a monthly mom budget in my notes with a line that says medical only. I put a sticky on my fridge that says no new cards. It looks silly. It works. I also started saying yes to things that aren't rescue missions. Yes to coffee with a neighbor who told me her Corolla makes a squeak I could probably fix. Yes to closing early one Thursday to play pickup basketball with guys who only know me as Caleb, corner 3. Yes to sleep. It feels like a luxury when you've spent years sleeping with your shoes on. I don't hate my family. I don't love what they expect. Those can both be true. The kids still send me crayon drawings with soap bubbles stuck to the paper because they think my job is magic. Sometimes it is. The other day, a teenager sprayed his dad's dusty pickup and grinned like he'd just learned a secret. I handed him extra quarters and said, "Keep going." This story doesn't end with anyone getting cut out of a will or a helicopter exploding midair. It ends with a car wash owner learning how to keep his own water pressure. It ends with a simple sentence I say out loud in my empty kitchen before I answer the phone. I don't owe anyone my peace. I won't allow people, family or not, to spend my life with my money. I won't let guilt dress up as love and move into my guest room. I won't say yes just because I can fix it faster. I will say yes when it helps and no when it hurts. That's the whole moral, written in big letters on a small sticky note. This wasn't about getting even. It was never a plot. It was a stop. It was me telling the room, the bank, my brother, my father, and the part of me that thinks he's only worth what he pays. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. And then I turned down the music, unlocked the bays at sunrise, and started counting quarters again, not because I had to patch someone else's hole, but because I finally chose what I'm willing to fund: my mother's health, my own quiet, and a future where steady doesn't mean available.
After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. **